Some guy's trying to explain a simple concept to Hassan, and he keeps missing the point.
Countersue against these sorts of issues, and because of that, I feel like this is going to fuck over the smaller streamer, because it's much more difficult for the smaller streamer to sue the platform and say, hey, they're violating my my fucking free speech limitations, or they're violating my fair use, rather than Twitch being terrified of, let's say, UMG or Sony suing the fuck out of them and taking the necessary measures in a similar fashion to how they dole out TOS violations currently, which would hurt smaller streamers.
That's one way. Yeah, the one way is
content creators. It's not one way. It's the only way. If you have a counter,
no, I don't think it's the only way. The one way is to create unions, and the other way is to regulate the inhabitant of the platform to actually care about the small content creator, right?
Then why wouldn't they do that? Why did they try to do Article 13?
That's kind of what they are doing. That's kind of what they are doing. They are through making them liable, and it's kind of I absolutely get, because I was just discussing this with a coworker the other day. I absolutely get why this sounds as if you make through making the from making the platform liable, you have to they will absolutely go out of proportion and make take absolutely no risk and just implement a system that will make everything more extreme. But in fact, the opposite will take place, because right now these extreme measures that Twitch and Google have in place, they are extreme in one way, meaning they're extreme in favor of the claimant, and that's not regulated. So my resolution to that would be to regulate and making a fair case for the claimant and the victim, right, of the copyright claim, and that's going to happen through Article 13.
I know, but you haven't proven to me that, maybe I'm wrong. In chat, correct me if I'm wrong, but you haven't proven to me that there is any sort of responsibility on the or there is any sort of instance where the platform will side with the smaller content creator out of fear, let's say, out of fear that the smaller content creator is going to sue them, over the fear that they're going to have that the larger media companies like UMG and Sony are going to sue the company. So in that instance, they have much better tools set in place to fight back against smaller streamers and just fucking be like, all right, you know what? We nuked you because...
Wait, because how many summarize the Sun's point? What does this have to do with smaller streamers or larger streamers? Like, both streamers would get fucked. How does this a smaller streamer, larger streamer problem?
More moderation teams. And why will it lead to this? Because they're kind of in a position where they don't really have a choice, meaning Google and Twitch don't really have a choice. What do I mean by that? They can't go absolutely insane and just block it.
Oh, fuck. Sorry.
It would be financially a disaster for them. Of course, it gives them more tools to, in singular cases, to...
Okay, I don't care. You're gonna come ask this guy Article 13 questions. Wait, what is Hassan's Discord? I don't know if I'm even in it. God, I hate Discord servers. Oh, I am in it.
In my voice channel, though.
Hey there, Destiny.
Hey, what's up? What are the questions?
Yeah,
oh, he did. All right, he came in.
We talked Sunday.
Listen, all you German fuckers sound the same to me, so I don't remember you, okay? Okay, what are we talking about in here?
That's right.
Okay, I clicked another channel.
Fuck off chat.
Oh, sorry.
Fuck off chat.
Okay, what do you got?
Sorry. Yeah, so basically my claim is that Article 13 will support small content creators more than it will hurt them.
How will it support small content creators?
Well, so basically what we have been arguing about is what it came down to is that the company, the platform, meaning Google and Twitch, are liable for the content, right?
Yeah.
Which is the huge meme about it.
Yeah, which is really bad, yeah.
Yeah, which is... I don't think it's bad, and I explain why. From one point of view, like we can go to two extremes over here. We can either just ban everything that can be copyright infringed, meaning if you have even one frame of some copyright infringed material, we just ban the whole video or like your whole channel and go absolutely bonkers Nazi with it, right? You can't really do that out of financial reasons, because once you do that, you just butcher your whole site, right?
It depends, but I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, because let's say in Twitch, you wouldn't be able to do in real life streams. Normal streams would be really restrictive to do. You
Yeah,
can't
well, I
use
mean,
any
it depends
music.
on how much
Yeah.
liability you're open to for hosting the content, like what those penalties are. So, for instance, let's say that if I play like a song on my stream that's copyrighted by some major record label, let's say that because of Article 13 or whatever, I'm open to $100,000 per copyright infringement or something, or something like that. It might actually make sense to just instantly pull the trigger on people that are streaming that type of stuff. It would mean
That's what Hasan is arguing. That's what Hasan is arguing, that Twitch will not, or Google will not take the risk and just go absolutely nuke it away.
Sure, yeah.
And that's it.
I think Emmett has said that that's what they are looking at right now, is using their content ID system. That what they have developed is to use it live and to automatically flag and terminate accounts that are broadcasting copyrighted content. But I don't know if that's confirmed. I saw somebody copy paste Emmett said that. But sorry, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, it's most of it isn't confirmed. It's just statements that Google makes that probably won't be true. Because
well, these were statements from these were statements from the CEO of Twitch, Emmett Shear. However, to be clear, also for people that are listening, Article 13 isn't a law, right? These are like what do you call
regulations?
Yeah, but like the actual the wordage of the laws has to be written by each, I think, EU member state, like how they decide to enforce it. Ultimately,
it's just a blanket thing, and each state has to enforce it themselves.
Yeah, a directive. Yeah. Okay, sorry. So go ahead.
Yeah, that's the word. And so basically, they can either go absolutely bonkers, but they would annihilate their own platform doing that, right? Like YouTube wouldn't be YouTube if you would just copyright every single thing. Same as Twitch. Twitch would probably be a bad financial decision for them to do that. Because and this is a huge thing, like if there was an actual fine for every little copyright infringement, meaning like for every second of a music that is copyright protected, you will get fined $100,000 or something. That's not the case. This is all talking about proportionate and proportionality and negligence, meaning that in general, if Twitch in general doesn't care about copyright, the EU can fuck them over, right? That's the whole meme about it. It's not an absolute.
They can actually fine them, is what you're saying. It doesn't have to be. They're not implementing a fine right now.
Yeah.
But later down the line, they could potentially fine them. Before, they wouldn't be able to. The only thing that could have happened is if these big corporations actually sued the platforms for violation of or like negligent violation of copyright.
Yeah, but what you're talking about,
which is why they had Content ID to begin with.
What you're talking about already exists in the form of the Digital Millennium Copyright Act, isn't it?
Yeah, but that's in America, I think, Destiny. I don't think that's
yeah. But this already exists in the United States, where basically the idea is you have to make a good faith effort to keep copyrighted content off of your platform, and as long as you do, there's like a safe harbor provision that makes it so you can't sue a content hoster.
So why can't Article 13 have the same exact safe harbor provision?
It's exactly the same thing. It's exactly the same thing.
No, it's not, because it doesn't have the safe harbor provisions that would take negligent, or that would take the liability away from the platforms if they're making a good faith effort. That's the whole point. That we were.
No. Well,
okay, so like there might be a safe.
Yeah,
there might be a safe harbor thing.
I'm talking about.
Yeah, there might be a safe harbor thing, but the question is in the United States, it seems like the two most important things it seems for safe harbor is one, it seems like you can't you have to make some type of effort to not automatically host and archive copyrighted content. So that's where the Google Content ID comes from. That's where the Twitch thing comes from, right? You have to be a little proactive. Yeah. And the two, you have to respond within some like 24, 48 hours or some shit to like DMCA takedown requests. Basically, a request to remove copyright infringing material off of a site if it's submitted by somebody that fills out a form. Is the safe harbor provision provided by Article 13, do you think that's going to be similar, or do you think it's going to be less lenient towards the platform that's hosting the copyright infringing content?
Yeah, it's going to be similar.
No, it's not. What are you talking about? It literally, you just said that that's the whole point. The entire reason why we're even arguing about this is because it's dissimilar to the provision that exists in the United States. If it was identical to DMCA, then no one would be making a fucking big stink about this at all. People would be like, all right, well, this is not the best possible system that we have in place, but it exists in the US and it works fairly well, much better than it would in the EU. The proposed solution in the EU takes it one step further. There are no safe harbor provisions. That's precisely the reason why Google and all these other large companies that definitely need some form of regulation in other instances are rallying against this.
But you're blowing out of proportion how much more strict it is. That's what I'm saying. It is somewhat more strict, and that's why Google is blowing it out of proportion as much.
Well,
It's
because
somewhat
nobody
more
wants to
strict.
copyright, nobody wants to enforce copyright stuff because it's just a pain on the hosts, right? Nobody really
Exactly,
wants to do
and
it, yeah.
that's why Google is lobbying against it so much by just blowing it out of proportion, calling it a meme
Sure.
ban and stuff.
But like
and
in
that's my point.
in
right?
general, it seems like copyright is generally used to further entrench the interests of those who are already really wealthy. Like if you look at how copyright is historically used, generally smaller platforms benefit from people sharing their content. Larger platforms it's arguably it's not a big detriment, but like people are usually stealing from larger platforms. Like I have a hard time understanding why you think that these types of provisions are going to benefit small content creators, unless you mean they're just going to hurt large content creators more than they would hurt small content creators.
Well, because in general, it's true what you're saying, meaning it normally would benefit huge companies. In case, for example, TV or music industry, that's where it's traditionally always happened. But in case of the internet, there's a lot of smaller content creators that are in huge problems due to DMCA takedowns. And that's what I'm arguing for.
Wait. How does this change the So you're saying a small content creator might face like bullying from larger people because of DMCA takedowns? Isn't Article 13?
A lot,
yeah, but Article 13 is going to provide a similar framework by which to attack small content creators. What's the difference?
No, the difference is that Article 13 proposes regulating exactly this process, meaning it's regulated in both ways. Someone just cares about it in general, meaning it's going to be looked at and regulated in both ways, not just for the content creator, but also for the claimant. Right now,
regulated
it's very claimant
how?
Yeah, that's the proportionality. This depends solely on technological effort and what's possible with proportionality.
Well, like yeah, because like in the United States, we regulate this. Our quote unquote way of regulating is basically when you fill out like a DMCA, when you fill out a copyright takedown request, you fill it out under penalty of perjury. If you're lying.
Yeah, and the European Union doesn't think that that's enough, which is obviously proven by a lot of the problems which happened.
For sure.
And that's why they're making it a little bit more certain by linking it and tying it to technological and financial efforts. Meaning that a huge company like Google, which has the means of having a moderating team that actually responds within 4 weeks, or within like 4 weeks and not a year, Google has the proportional finances and resources to support it, and this is what the proportionality part of the article.
When you say proportionality, can you explain real quick what you mean by that? What is proportionality? Like, what is? I don't know what you mean by that.
When proportionality, by that I refer to the actual thing from the directive, and this refers to the technological and to not just best faith, but to have proportionate systems and proportionate systems and measures in place to actually protect copyright in both ways. This is I don't know if you have the directive open, but right here, wait, I just link it to you directly. There's the subpoint proportionality, which is on the second page, I think.
Can you link it to me too?
Yeah, sure.
That's the way I can't read all this right now. This is fucking 20 pages long.
Yeah, it's a bit more. Yeah, it's basically what it's saying.
I still think that I still don't see how this could possibly benefit. Like, I mean, like the number of people.
Because it's a bit more than best faith.
Well, yeah, but I mean, like technically, wouldn't this give like larger companies even a greater means to like enforce their copyright protections against other content creators? Like,
well, they already have that. They already have all the means.
I mean, they kind of
if
already
they have that already. Why is there additional measures that are necessary?
Well,
because
not only
measures regulate how they do that, meaning that it's not just regulating in case of giving them more tools to do that. It's not exactly that, because they already have other tools, but it's actually regulating and looking at how they use these tools, because until now it's just a DMCA thing, and now it's also an European Union thing, meaning that there's another player that can actually look at how YouTube uses their tools to deal with copyright infringement, and that's my whole point.
Okay. I mean, I still don't. I mean, I understand what you're saying in terms of how it could help small content creators, but I mean, I still think that the ability to enforce like copyright more strictly, especially because platforms are going to be more proactive about it, I still feel like that's going to favor larger content creators. I guess it could help. I think that it's a very small.
Favors both.
Sure. I think it's a very small niche of people that are getting like falsely striked, and usually when this happens, there's like a big stink about it. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's a small niche of people. Maybe it's for me it's out of proportion, but I've seen a lot of claims like that, and that's mainly a reason for apocalypse, and it's a reason for a lot of problems on
Wait.
YouTube.
Reason for the adpocalypse?
Yeah, it's also a reason for the apocalypse.
I thought the whole
because
adpocalypse thing was
yeah,
starting because of questionable content on YouTube
yeah,
that people don't
and
want to be.
this whole thing implicits that YouTube doesn't look at its content. That's a whole implicit thing.
Wait. How does being
happening
able to
for this.
DMCA stuff have anything to do with getting rid of
Wait,
questionable
yeah.
content?
Are you saying that Article 13 also places severe infringements on freedom of speech on like in the way that it currently exists
No.
on YouTube platforms that are already being regulated by their own terms of service? Like, would this
No,
mean
what
that
I'm saying is that
apply by?
no, what I'm saying that until now, how Google operates is they just have content, some sort of content that belongs to someone they don't really care about. It's just something that's generating views. And through the means of Article 13, they actually are liable for what's on the website, meaning that in terms of copyright infringement, meaning that they actually have to care who what belongs to for themselves. It gives them a financial incentive to use it for themselves, which they didn't have to up to now. They can just host whatever content, and if something comes up, they just ban it. But right now, with the Article 13, they're going to be more liable to actually care about what's on the content and from whom, because they are liable themselves. And yeah, and that's kind of tying into that. Not.
Do you think it's good? Do you think that's good that like that a platform like YouTube can be held liable for things that other people upload? Would this extend to like Twitter and Facebook as well?
Sure. Yeah, I think yeah, it extends to everyone, but within a certain proportionality, right? So it only extends to the major points, meaning Facebook, and this also means that they will have to filter more out. This is how I can get the plebs on my side. I'm sorry, I just read what Hassan wrote in chat. This is gonna take the plebs on my side. Basically also bans reposts pretty much entirely. But the whole meme about this is that
Wait, what do you
they
mean
don't
bans
really-
reposts?
Yeah, because they will have to have some sort of moderation team, some sort of content.
Wait, if you're on Reddit and it's like a link aggregate site, you can just repost a link again. That's not copyright infringement.
Yeah, that's not. But because they don't really care, but if you just use the same picture twice, it's already not really copyright infringement, but it's some sort of duplicate on the website. And through that, it's not specifically copyright infringement, but it can fall into the system that's a side effect.
Wait. If I post a link on a link aggregate site and then I post that link again later,
No.
that could fall under.
No, just the same data basically. Through the it's a side effect of what actually the systems will do in place. Basically, what the Article 13 in conclusion says, the websites don't really have to change anything that they are doing right now. They just have to enforce it more, meaning they can't just brush it off.
Well, like you say they don't have to change anything, but the reality is that if they're going to be facing additional liability here, this is going to be
systems,
this is going to be like a simple calculation for Google, right? Like if it's going to cost like a fuck ton of money to regulate these types of things, and then inevitably some stuff is still going to slip through, and they are still going to face some level of litigation, it might become prudent of them to get very aggressive with like their content ID systems. You know?
Exactly.
As they
and I
already
think
mentioned ahead of time, and one of the things that they mentioned is placing a limitation before the content gets uploaded, before the content ever gets seen by anyone else, and that was the giant problem. And
Yeah, but
another
my
thing
point-
that I want you guys to talk about as well, something that we talked about briefly, was potentially putting up libraries of copyrighted content. I think that this is ineffective and almost impossible because there are, millions of fucking new content creators. So it would be virtually impossible to have a copyright-free library of infinite content for infinite amounts of creators. So again,
if you look at something like Twitch, let's say
Okay,
somebody lifts like one of my YouTube VOD or one of my Twitch VODs and puts it on YouTube, like I can sue YouTube now to get that taken down.
Well, let's just talk about the first thing. I'm sorry,
Uh-huh.
real
Yeah,
quick,
go
because it's an important part that we're arguing about all the time. Basically the financial problem of implementing a detection system versus just banning everything, right? It might be easier to just implement if the rules would be really strict on what is to be banned. If the fines would be really strict, it might be just financially more viable to ban every content instead of just that might be a copyright infringement from the get-go, instead of having an intelligent system that detects copyright infringement. My argument for that is that the Article 13 specifies very lax rules regarding this, but more strict rules than already are in place. Meaning, they don't have to perfectly determine every copyright claim, and they don't have to detect what's fair use exactly right. They just have to do it better than they are doing it already, right? That's the whole thing.
Okay. All right, I understand. I gotta go play games. My position, I guess, like I'm arguing this in a little bit from a different angle. I really fucking hate copyright. I think all of it should fucking go away. So,
well, Destiny, I
yeah.
wrote you an email, depending exactly this topic.
When did you write it?
Yeah, like today.
Oh, I probably deleted it then because I don't respond to any of that shit anymore.
Wow.
But hey, if you come on Sunday, we can chat about it if you want, okay? Otherwise, good luck.
Wow.
Fuck copyright. I still don't think you established that this is going to be more beneficial for smaller content creators than larger ones, other than I guess it can protect some smaller content creators from being falsely like copyright claimed, but I think that's a minority of content creators. I think generally copyright, I think usually benefits more entrenched wealth. If you have a lot more capital and a lot more power, you can create stuff that's going to benefit from those copyright laws. That's why you don't see like indie artists pushing copyright laws, but fucking Disney. So I don't know. I still don't necessarily buy that argument, but I kind of understand what you're saying, you know?
Yeah, let's talk about that sometime, dude.
Sure.
Let's talk about it sometime.
Yeah. Fuck copyright. Okay. I love you. Be careful.